can the people of Puerto Rico make a clear decision? My administration will stand by you.
And if the people of Puerto Rico vote for statehood in their coming referendum, I favor statehood for Puerto Rico, and I would, as president, initiate the enabling legislation to make this a reality.
I went to Puerto Rico in September because I believe anyone who wants to be president should give attention to Puerto Rico and should remind our fellow Americans, Puerto Ricans are American citizens.
I happen to believe statehood to be the most effective means of ensuring that residents of Puerto Rico are treated equally, with equal representation at a federal level.
Let me first say before anything else, this is not a video against Puerto Rico or Puerto Ricans. This is another Politics for Young People video, because even if you don't care about politics, and I respect that if that's the case, you need to know how it works. And I do have to once again say on each of these videos that I've been on both sides of the aisle, either as a conservative Democrat or moderate Republican. So as you hopefully know, Puerto Rico is a Commonwealth of the United States. All Puerto Ricans are American citizens. They can travel between the states and Puerto Rico whenever they wish. But Puerto Ricans on the island don't get to vote. Over the past 40 years, politicians on both sides of the aisle, although a lot more from the Democrat side over the past decade, have laid some claim and desire that Puerto Rico become the 51st state. And when do they do it? Well, on the campaign trail, of course. Once they become elected, the statehood debate for Puerto Rico is essentially 100% ignored. So why is this happening? Well, if you've seen some of my other Politics for Young People videos, it boils down to two things. The first is pandering to one's base. Politicians, and as I said, more Democrat politicians than Republicans, tout their support for Puerto Rico's statehood on the campaign trail because many, and let me be clear, not all, but many Puerto Ricans tend to vote Democrat. So if you're a Democrat politician, why not tout this on the campaign trail? Lock in that Puerto Rican vote for all eligible voters here in the States. Don't give a shit about the Puerto Ricans. Just lock in that vote, baby. The other reason why U.S. politicians ignore Puerto Rico's possible statehood has to do with geopolitics. Just for a second, think about the last two areas given statehood, Alaska and Hawaii, both interestingly in 1959. So why did Alaska become a state? Well, Alaska is right near a really large country that you may have heard of, especially these days, Russia. And how about Hawaii? Well, Hawaii is strategically located between California and Asia, or the Far East as they used to more often call it. A pretty good strategic place for military defense and military bases, right? Unfortunately, and that's why the first thing I said was that this video is not against Puerto Rico, but Puerto Rico doesn't have much geopolitical value to the United States. I'm not saying Puerto Rico doesn't have value. It has a lot of inherent value. I'm saying it doesn't have much geopolitical value to the United States. Puerto Rico's location doesn't offer much in terms of a strategic location that the U.S. really needs to bolster its own interests, nor does it have many natural resources that the United States needs in particular. Kind of like Cuba, to be honest. Aside from Batista's hotels and how the U.S. made Cuba its second Las Vegas before Castro took over, one of the issues with Cuba ever since is that we really don't need Fidel's sugar. We can get our own sugar. And it's really always kind of been like that. So now you know and have a little more insight as to why Puerto Rico will always be in limbo in terms of potential statehood and have a better understanding of some of the key issues surrounding it. So send me your comments and questions, and each week you'll get a chance to win a copy of one of my books, your choice, either my book on presentation skills or business writing skills.